the heck you doing sitting down? Get your butt up and train.
Good! Sir, please, I don't want to hurt you, man. I don't want to hurt you. Stop!
Let's go.
What's up, my YouTube peoples? Here to bring you a little bit. So everybody knows that watches my videos know that I'm a Glock fan, but since I bought this SD9 for my students, now it's time to show you guys how to make this SD9 rock. So you see a couple things here because I didn't want to waste a lot of time on video of some things that I've already done to the SD9, and basically those three things are what we're going to be talking about on camera today. Okay, number one, learning how to get some identification marks on your gun. Basically nothing but white crayon. Okay, I'm going to show you guys how to do that on the other side because I've already did it on this side. Okay, I'm going to put some wet Magwell Cutouts in this one. I'm going to show you a simple method. And then number three is I got this Apex trigger kit in. The Apex SD9 Spring kit, trigger kit. So we're going to install this bad boy on camera. And that's three things we're going to be doing. Let's get started. First thing I'm going to go ahead and do is, as you know, I keep loaded guns in the house. So let me go ahead and make it unfireable and put it in a safe condition, because there's no such thing as a safe gun. So let's put it in a safe condition. We're going to take the magazine out the bottom, sit it to the side, rack slide 3 times. Okay, set that bullet to the side, slide lock. Once I slide lock, I'm going to physically check the bottom and the chamber and visually inspect it and go ahead and run the slide. Let's work on this first part here, which is doing some coloring on, dropping all kind of stuff here, doing the coloring on your slide. For all you guys that want to do all this cool coloring, all it takes is a little crayon from whoever. This is Crayola, but crayon from whatever color you want. If you want to put pink, because that's how you roll, you know, so be it. That's on you. I use white because it's very flattering to the eyes. Everybody can see it. It pops out very quickly, and it's a good thing. So really quick, I'm going to show you guys how to do this. All you need is a crayon and like a dry, slightly damp napkin. Okay, as you can see, I already got this messy napkin here. Okay, all you're going to do is basically color like you did in school. Go left to right on top of the words. Okay, left to right on top of the words. Very simple. For the words that go up and down, like the S's and the T's, instead of going left to right, you'll just go up and down. So once you got everything else filled in, and you kind of wipe the excess out of the way, and you look and say, man, I missed some spots. You didn't really miss spots. What happens is, like on the E's and the S and the T's, you have to make sure you go up and down, because you got to fill in everything. And sometimes going the opposite ways don't fill in everything. So it'll look kind of messy at first. First thing you can do is take your finger and scrape away the excess with your nails. Kind of go over the top of it. Let me try something else I've never tried before. Take a credit card over the top of it, or any type of card that you may have, and just kind of scrape over it. Because generally what's happening is you're scraping over the top of the surfaces that you just embedded the crayon into. So it's actually the most perfect way to do it. Wipe away the excess. I'm not going to really mess with too much of the excess right now because I'll finish up later. I just want to show you guys how to get it done. And as you can see, you got Smith & Wesson in white right here. Springfield, Massachusetts, or Missouri, whatever that is, USA. Okay? Forgive me, I ain't been in grade school in a long time, so MA doesn't stand out to me of what state that might be. I'm almost positive it's Massachusetts, but hey, I could be wrong. Alright, let's move on to part number 2, what we're doing in this video. We're going to install the Apex trigger kit. Alright, part 1, phase 1. You need to have, unfortunately, you have to have some punch pins or a Glock tool or something that's similar in that type of environment as far as the size of a pin that'll push through your slide mechanism. Because again, if you guys watched my last video about the SD9, the SD9s do not have your regular standard push through pins. They actually have roll pins. Roll pins are the ones like on a lot of your AR parts, where it tightens outward as you punch it into the hole. It's like a tight fit, so it kind of expands when you tap it into the hole. So anyhow, let's go ahead and remove this. Again, as you guys know about the SD9, because if you're watching this video, you probably own one or looking at owning one. This breaks down just like a Glock, or what some people would say, just like an SD9. Okay, of course, check it for, make sure that's unfireable and nothing is inside the chamber. Squeeze the trigger. Once you squeeze the trigger, offset the slide just by a little bit and pull down on the takedown levers right here on top of your trigger. Hold them down and let the slide come forward. For now, we're going to go ahead and sit the frame out of the way because we're going to come back to it. Let's work on the difficult part first. Alright, we're going to go ahead and remove the guide rod assembly. Okay, your striker spring assembly, guide rod assembly, and your barrel, and set those to the side. Okay, the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our roll of tape that we're going to use to tap out, to make our cutout, Magwell cutouts, and we're going to sit it down on this table. Okay, we're going to take our slide and sit it upside down until right here, so you guys can see that right here where the punch pin is exposed right at the top. It basically sits right next to your firing chamber. Okay, we're going to take our punch pin, sit it on top of there, and our little hammer or whatever, and we're going to go ahead and knock that out. Okay, we're going to take a smaller one. I figured that would be an issue. Smaller punch pin. Okay, once you get that through, slowly pull it out and hold on to your extractor, because your extractor is spring loaded. Okay, your extractor is going to come out, which is here. Set it to the side, and if you want to, you can go ahead and pull out the extractor spring. Do not lose these parts. Don't do it. Okay, sit them right here and make sure they don't move. Okay, good to go. Next thing you're going to do, on your slide, you have your striker and a little bitty, it's like your channel liner, but it's not your channel liner. It's just like the receiving cup of your striker. It's a little white plastic piece. You're going to slightly lift up on your striker and press down on that white plastic piece with the same punch pin that you already have. Take your thumb at the top and just move your back plate forward. It comes out very easy. Okay, once you've done that, take the whole striker assembly out. Okay, the whole piece. Set it to the side. Okay, once you take your striker assembly piece out, your plunger is going to want to pop out. Okay, just turn it over in your hand and it's going to fall out. Okay, once that falls out, what happens here is you have a spring set already right there. We're not going to do that spring first, although it's part of one of the ones in the kit. And the reason why we don't want to do this one first is because we want to go ahead and do our striker first, because our striker is actually what is holding this guy into place. So we're going to set this to the side with the spring and everything, and we're going to work on the striker first. Okay, as you guys can see, the striker assembly has a plastic piece, a spring, and 2 cups. Okay, these 2 cups right here looks like one whole piece. These 2 cups come apart once we reduce the spring tension off of them, and then we're going to take the spring off and replace it with the brand new spring out of the kit. Okay, so first thing first, what we're going to do is sit our slide upside down, basically bullets facing down, and we're going to take our spring, our striker cup here, and put it inside the hole backwards. Okay, and you want to put it so that the metal piece is kind of, you can't push it down into the hole. Okay, even if you did push down to the hole, it'll still give you that tension, spring tension, but we just want to keep it on top for something easier. What I'm going to go ahead and do is take out my spring, my big spring out of my kit here, and set it to the side. Okay, once I do that, I'm good to go. I'm going to pull down on my spring here. Okay, pull down on my spring. I'm going to be very careful to remove my cups one by one and make sure they don't fly all over the place. Uh-oh, there they went. Okay, as you guys can see, let me come up to the camera and show you guys this 2 spring cups. Okay, these 2 are your 2 spring cups. Okay, they go around your spring to hold your spring in place. I know Glock has like underwater marine style cups. I'm pretty sure Smith & Wesson has them too. You can change those out, buy them from a aftermarket part manufacturer. Alright, so the way you're going to know the difference between the factory spring and the spring that you're installing is the factory spring is green. So set that to the side, and we're going to install the new one. All you got to do is sit that bad boy on top. Boom. Once you sit it on top, again, hold the tension down. Okay, drop 1 cup at a time, and what you're going to do is just drop it into the spring while you're holding it. Grab the next cup and just fill it into that space. Okay, once you've done that, make sure they're lined up and they're good to go. You can pull it out. Okay, it is perfect, good to go. Okay, just test the tension on it, good to go. Next thing you're going to do is go ahead and remove the smallest spring out of your spring pack. Trust me, you won't have any trouble identifying it. Okay, and we're going to remove our factory spring from our plunger. Boop. It should pop right out. You'll feel it pop. The unfortunate part about the difference between the aftermarket spring and the one we just pulled out is the aftermarket spring doesn't lock in place like your old one. So some people put grease inside of here. You can put grease if you want to. That's fine. It'll hold it in place. Let me give you guys a little key. As an armorer of guns, I'm going to give you guys a little hint, clue. While you have this thing disassembled, go ahead and spend some time cleaning off. Go ahead and clean off your plunger while you have it out. Go ahead and clean off your striker while you have it out. Just kind of get some of that dust removed while you have it out, because you know, when's the next time you're going to take this thing apart down to an armorer's breakdown? Okay, you probably won't. So go ahead and get some of this gunk off here now. That way you kind of give yourself an armorer's cleaning at the same time. Alright, so again, taking a small spring, be careful not to lose it, very small. Sit it into your plunger. Alright, just make sure it's vertical. Once you got it vertical, we're going to take and basically place it inside the hole, where just basically return to the hole that it came out of. Okay, but you want to turn your slide upside down so you can press this bad boy in straight up and down, so you can watch the spring go in there so it's not going to bend. You want to make sure it's not bending when it's going in there. Okay, you want to hold that in place with your thumb once you put it in there, and go ahead and drop your striker back into play. Actually, what I'm going to go ahead and do is sit that down for a second and go ahead and clean off my striker. It's pretty clean for the most part. Alright, and I'm going to press down on the tension on my plunger and drop the striker back into place, of course with the firing pin facing towards the front of the gun. Once you do that, you'll notice that your plunger doesn't go anywhere now. It's good to go. Okay, go ahead and stand your slide back up, and you're going to just simply press down on the white Extractor cup and put your back plate back on by pressing down on your Extractor cup. Once you have it back in place, your back plate back in place, go ahead and drop your Extractor Spring in first. It's a very big hole right here. Okay, very simple. Just drop it into place. Once you have that dropped in, make sure your extractor is facing the correct way when you get ready to put it in. Basically, you gotta hook it underneath the slide first, like I just did. Basically, you're gonna go underneath the chamber and hook it into a little spot. Okay, as you can see, it's a little bitty groove that sticks out on the bottom part. Okay, so bring that groove in first, and then press down onto here. Okay, once you have that, you don't really have to hold tension just yet until you actually have your roll pin ready to go back in. Go ahead and sit your slide. Alright, let's go ahead and move on to the trigger assembly. Okay, so as you see in the kit, you have two things left. Okay, let me pull them out for you so I can show them to you. Number one, most people think it's just some cool tool, but basically what this is basically acts as a punch pin. You're going to punch this bad boy through to hold your pins in place while you're putting your punch back through. And this is the spring, the trigger spring that goes on your trigger assembly. Okay, so you have the punch pin tool and then the trigger assembly spring. So let's set these things to the side right now. Go ahead and get this pin started. So what I'm going to do is sit this alright, so obviously right to left is the better option. Right to left, not left to right. Right to left pushing out, we'll come back in left to right on this one. Alright, once you have that in, we're going to go ahead and use our other pin to back that out just a little bit so we can get our slide stop lever out. Once we have that out, we'll back it up just a little bit more and pull out our blocker. I'm sorry, locking block. Once you got your locking block out, you can just pull your trigger housing completely up. Okay, you're going to see that your trigger spring is basically, it connects to your punch pin that's already in there. Okay, it just hooks and connects. You guys can see that. Okay, and this is where the punch pin will go through. Basically, this spring will go through this hole. Okay, the punch pin will go through that hole and connect through the spring. Alright, again, once you got this stuff disassembled, go ahead and wipe this stuff off while you got it broken down, because you may not get back to this part after a long time. It may take a while to get back to this point, or maybe never. Alright, all you gotta do is just pull the old trigger spring off, set it to the side because you may need it at a later date. These are man-made and they can break, so make sure you don't trust anything with your life all the time. Have your backup parts ready to go. You know, my Glock 19 went down on me. Alright, once you have that, you want to make sure that we always utilize the S method, okay, when we're putting springs on. So we're going to do an S format, and we're going to put the spring on in an S format, meaning that the bottom hook is like this. It's going, what's that, clockwise onto the trigger spring bar. Okay, once you have that in, you can put your trigger spring bar back into place. Okay, and you're going to very, very carefully start to put everything back in slowly. First thing we're going to do is go ahead and wipe this locking block off. Okay, once you got locking block wiped off, go ahead and sit your locking block down in place. Okay, you basically want to make sure that hole is aligned. Okay, now Alright guys, what you're going to do is take this little special tool that you got with your SD9 and you're going to punch it from the left side of the gun. Okay, the left side of the gun where the slide stop lever is, punch it through there first, because what you want to do is make sure you get the slide stop lever first, because that's where your tension is. Alright, so push that through there first, and you got to make sure that when you're pushing it through, make sure that your trigger spring is in the middle or goes around this bar. Okay, if it does not go around this bar, then it won't go around your push pin bar. So push that in, okay, all the way through until you get to the other side. You're going to have 2 grooves on your punch pin. Okay, those have to be on the side where your slide stop lever is, so that's the first part to go in. So the part that has the grooves is going to be a small groove on the outside and a deep groove on the middle. You're going to push that from right to left. As you're pushing it through, just keep tension on the little tool that they put in the kit and just push it through. Alright, once you get that trigger spring on there, and you got this one in there good to go. Since this is a polymer gun, you can kind of just tap that on in there and get it flush with your other side. Okay, check everything, make sure it's working, squeeze your trigger, make sure it's surrounded around the bar, which this one is. Okay, and if you don't think your trigger spring is in the, centered on the middle, just take a punch pin or a little small flathead screwdriver and kind of work with it and play with it just a tad bit. Okay, but as long as it's around that bar, it's good to go. Alright, that's part number 2, guys. We're going to put this thing back together, squeeze it, play with it, make sure it's good to go. Okay, first thing you're going to do is go ahead and drop your barrel back into the slide, and then your recoil guide assembly, your spring assembly, back into its place. Once you do that, make sure it's flush with the center, and just go ahead and match up your slide groove marks with the grooves on top of your gun. Slide it all the way to the rear just like your Glock. And we're going to do a function check first. We're going to squeeze the trigger one time. Okay, once we squeeze the trigger, we're going to hold the trigger down, rack the slide, let the trigger out. Feel the reset, squeeze again. Okay, so what I feel is not a, not 1,000% noticeable difference, but what I can tell you is that it is definitely different as far as the trigger pull to the rear. The reset appears to be lighter, meaning that coming back forward on the trigger, the reset is lighter, so the trigger spring is not forcing my finger back forward like as you would feel on this one before I changed out the springs, and what you would normally feel on a Glock trigger, where that trigger spring actually forces the trigger forward faster or with more pressure. This one actually makes that trigger reset feel lighter. Okay, so it's almost like you may end up double stroking this trigger a lot more because of that. But we don't know. I have to take it out and shoot it and see. Like I said, it feels the same, but see, my problem here would be this right here. The short stroking of the trigger, and then finally until I get used to it. But I'm just not used to this type of trigger. So anyhow, let's move on to part 3. We're going to take this bad boy back down, sit that to the side, and we're going to pull out our handy dandy Dremel type tool. Now let me show you guys really quick how I set this up. Okay, I had a dime, a marker, and a piece of tape, roll of tape, and some scissors. Okay, show you what I did. took a piece of tape that was slightly bigger than my dime, set it on the table, set my dime on top of it. Okay, once I had my dime on top of it, I held the dime down and I rotated this marker around the dime, okay, until I got a circular fit. Okay, once I got a circular fit around this dime, and I went around it a couple times to make sure it was all nice and even, I moved the dime out the way, put it back in my pocket, okay, and all I did was I cut this dime in half, you know, of course by eye. Once I cut the dime in half, I simply applied that onto my gun surface, okay. Once I did that, I flipped it over to the next side, and I actually took my knife and I made even cut marks with my knife. Basically simply like this. Okay, just take your knife, find the edge of your dime, and sit it down and look at it till it appears to be even to you. Okay, appears to be even, and cut those marks in it. Okay, once you cut those marks, you take your tape on the other side and line up the tape on those marks. Okay, very simple. Next thing we're going to do is, all I have to do is take a sanding tool bit, the sanding tip, and go ahead and start with the sander. Once I have the sander and I've sanded down a dime sized portion of the finger groove, what I'm going to do then is take my grinder and just kind of smooth everything out. So here we go, guys. I'm going to show you the process. Of course, movie magic. I'll make it look fast to you guys, and it'll probably take me about 15 to 20 minutes. Alright, here we go. Alright, guys, so I got my sander bit on here and my grinder bit out and ready to go. The grinder bit is this little guy here. It looks like a Christmas tree. Alright, here we go. Here we go. What you're going to do is you're going to basically start in the middle and just work it into this groove. Okay, just work it into the groove. Obviously, your tape is going to move, so that's what the purpose of the knife marks are. Here we go. Just work it back and forth, and get your little groove started. Alright, guys, so we got the sanding portion of that done, as you can see, and I'm right on the black ink marks, okay, right where I need to be. I'll go ahead and change out my bit tip. Okay, once I do that, I'll go ahead and grind this bad boy down till it becomes smooth. When it becomes smooth, then I have me a perfect cut. Let me tell you why I like the grinder so much. The grinder tends to not cut into it as much as the sander does, and it also makes it very, very smooth. So if you get some loose edges, the grinder seems to help those edges smooth out pretty good. Alright, guys, and there we have it. A very nice first cut. Beautiful, beautiful. And I'll just grind that away and make it as smooth as it wants to be. Alright, starting on side 2. Alright, I'm going to do that one off camera so you guys can miss all the action on that one, and I'll come back with the finished product. Alright guys, I'm finished with my Magwell cutouts. You guys can see that side and that side. Look very nice, and this is the functionality of them. Okay, for those that are lost on why people put Magwell cuts on their firearms, well, it's for this right here. Okay, you have a double fed ammo in your chamber, 2 bullets trying to get into the same chamber, and you need to do a quick mag strip. Well, if you have a gun like the Smith & Wesson SD9, as you guys can see here, it's very flush to the bottom. Okay, with a flush magazine, it's very hard to strip this magazine unless you go old school method. Old school method works by pressing up on the slide release, releasing the tension, dropping magazine and pulling. But in our new day, we teach faster methods. Faster methods of learning how to work the gun and get out of a gunfight fast. Okay, get in and get out fast. All right, because you don't have a lot of time to play with your gun and manipulate your gun like that. Yes, you should all know the old school way, but you also should know the new school way of stripping that magazine, letting the slide fall forward, stripping the crap out of it, and reinserting. All right, so that's what this part is for. So let me show you real quick. Basically, if you have a double feed like this and you press the magazine release, as you see, the magazine goes nowhere. Okay, but if I press the magazine release now and I strip, watch what happens to the slide. Slide comes forward. I can either push this bullet down or throw this magazine away, get a new one. It can either reinsert and strip and rack, or I can rack and then reinsert. Either or works. Either or would be fine. But anyhow, that's Steve. I hope you guys enjoyed part 1, part 2, and part 3. Part 1 was the Crayola, making your darn thing look a little special. Number 2 was installing that darn trigger, Apex trigger kit, spring kit. And number 3 was the Magwell cutouts. Like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Y'all know this is Steve. You know I love you. Y'all make sure y'all win that goddamn fight, because you got a responsibility to make it home to your family. Keep your guns loaded in the house. You never know what'll happen. Alright? Stop walking around with the wrong mentality. I'm out, y'all. Y'all have a great one.